Story 1. I'm Mark. I know this sounds weird, but I remember nearly nothing in one stretch. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I've replayed that night 1,000 times. I was babysitting for my neighbor's kid, Jessie, 11 if I recall right, because her parents were at some diner gig late night. It was quiet, just me and the kid in her living room. I'd come in with takeout, a bag of chips, thinking it'd be chill, some cartoons, a couple hours, easy money. Thing is, the dog died 3 months ago. You might not think that matters, but the house still feels hollow. A few creaks, and the floorboards sigh differently. I sat on the couch, feet up, Jessie playing on her tablet. I was distracted, scrolling my phone. That's when I heard something down the hall. Click, click, like someone pressing a light switch, but upstairs. I froze for a second. No, that's a dumb phrase, but you know. I kinda stalled there, stuck on the couch. I said, "Jess, did you?" She didn't look up, just said, "Nope." But I know she heard it. I told myself it was just the wiring, old house stuff. But then the door at the end of the hall opened a crack. Not wide, just enough that the dark stands apart from the lit hallway. Maybe 8 inches? I blinked hard. Everything felt louder. My heart, pounding too much. I grabbed the remote, clicked the hall lamp. Nothing happened. Click again. She doesn't have smart bulbs. It's all manual. I edged off the couch, tried the switch again. Still nothing. Jessie looked up, asked if we could watch something else. I didn't answer for a beat. I walked down the hall. Light from the TV spilled on everything. I flipped the switch. Nothing. I leaned in toward the cracked door. The dark part on the other side felt thick. It felt like it was leaning into the hallway, folding in. But then the crack closed, and even though there was no wind, the door clicked. I remember being shaky, teeth sort of. I told myself, "You're fine, just old house noises." But I'd gone for the big lamp in the foyer, heavy with the pull chain. I yanked it, and the bulb shattered. Not like burst, just bit-sized glass rained down. That was when I smelled it. Like copper, kind of. Weird smelling. Jessie started crying then, and it snapped me harder. I looked at her eyes big, and she said, "Something's behind the walls." I couldn't, "What?" I looked at the wall behind me, because I heard it too. A whisper, like the house itself, breathing. I told her I'd check it, which was dumb, because I definitely wasn't going to. I blinked, and upstairs, I heard footsteps. I swear they sounded slow, as though someone heavy was dragging chains. Jessie looked at me, and I looked back. I said, "I'm gonna call your mom," but the phone was dead. Not out of battery, dead. No screen, no nothing. I know this is cliché, but I was already feeling cornered. Stupid. I told Jessie to stay in the living room. Promise me, if I didn't return in a minute, she'd run out front. She nodded, all teary and scared. I took a step. Up the stairs, my head buzzing. I could feel this tug, like the walls were breathing around me. Every step creaked like a groan. By the third step, I saw it. A shape at the top landing, hunched over, like someone with their spine broken. No face, just dark and dripping. Not red, darker, viscous. I was halfway up when it turned its head toward me. Or maybe I think it did. Can flesh turn backwards? Maybe I imagined it. My head was spinning already. I recoiled, almost messed up my ankle on a step. I said, "No fuck, no fuck," and I ran. Down the stairs. Jessie heard me and scrambled up. I scooped her and just bolted out the door. Barefoot, straight onto the sidewalk. Didn't even close it. We ran to her neighbor's place across the street, banging and crying. The neighbor let us in. She saw blood on my jeans. My ankle had opened when I fell, and on Jessie's shirt. I swear, I don't know where hers came from. She wasn't cut. I tracked it in. Thin, dark, crusted. We stayed there till the parents came home, freaking. Later, cops checked the house. No break-in. They said maybe the kid bumped her nose or something. But they didn't explain the smear on the stairs. No fluid there before. Or the weird footprints of something dragging just up the staircase. Or the door. They logged the lamp broken. I think they said wiring again. They told me it was a frightening night. But they found nothing and filed it under unexplained. Jessie never asked for me again. I stopped babysitting her. I tried once, called her parents, but just hearing her voice made my chest seize. That shape, leaning. Was it just shadows? But I felt it, like a weight, pressing. I keep waking up, sometimes thinking I hear it creeping down the hall, and my jeans are still stained, though I try to scrub it out. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm glad you're not here right now. Story 2. My name's Andy. I don't know how to start other than this happened just last month. I was at my cousin's place, babysitting her kid, Mia, in a rural motel they rent by the highway. Not creepy looking, just real tired, stale smell. Dim, fluorescent lights. I said yes, because it was quick cash, and I figured I could write or do something. The room, well, the motel, had these thick walls, like they soak up sound, so everything echoes weirdly. Mia was 7, coloring quietly. I sat on an oversized armchair, my notebook open, but I wasn't writing. I kept thinking about the road noise, cars and big rigs clipping the shoulder. It made me feel tense for no reason. I know this sounds crazy, but halfway through a word, I remembered last summer when my friend disappeared. Quiet town, baseball field, just gone. Cops never pinned anything. That memory swirled in my head for no reason. And I got that flicker of sweat on the back of my neck. I couldn't stop thinking about that. Then the light flickered. Just blink, blink, then steady. But it lingered in the dark corner where the TV sat off to the side. Static loops, and this hum from the air conditioner. The hum felt like a heartbeat rattling the wall. I shook it off. Mia said, "Uncle Andy, why'd you trip earlier?" I blinked. Trip? I don't remember tripping. She nodded, scratched her knee, and there was blood. Tiny smear on her jeans. I asked, "How'd you get that?" She shrugged, said she didn't know. Maybe she grabbed a screw or something. The front of the motel's kinda rough. I told her to sit. I wiped it gently. Felt sticky, almost dry. She looked up and said, "Something's hiding in the room next door." I paused, not sure what to say. "What do you mean?" She stared at the wall, right where the adjoining door was. "It moves at night. Sometimes it taps on the wall, in weird rhythms." I thought maybe kids watch too many ghost vids. "It's okay," I said. "Probably just pipes." But I couldn't stop looking. I got up and knocked on the next door. Nothing, but that carried itself like echoing soft cough. I turned, and Mia was staring, wide-eyed. She looked old suddenly. I offered to put her to bed early. She climbed in. The bed squeaked, and there was a dark smear on the sheet, like someone drew a slow streak with a wet finger. Brownish red. I yanked the sheet, pressed it to my nose. Iron. So maybe blood. But whose? I said, "Mia, stay there." And I grabbed the motel phone to call someone, my cousin. But the line had that blur of static, like it was underwater. Every time I tried to speak, there was a whisper at the other end. I heard her name, or maybe I did. Said, "Mia, it's not safe." I choked, dropped the handset. I walked to the bathroom, flicked on the light. It sputtered. And in the mirror, I thought I saw a face behind me. Just an edge of shadow. No features. I spun. Nothing. Just the door closing between us. My reflection looked pale, mouth open, kind of hung like an O, like I was still saying something in the mirror. I backed away. Back in the main room, I sat on the bed, knees clutching me. I said, "I know this sounds crazy, but I think someone died here." It hit me how absurd that was, but the hair on my arms prickled. I thought of the neighbor's story. Years ago, a mom was murdered in room 12, and she bled out in the adjoining space. I don't know where I heard it. The clerk, rumors. I know I shouldn't trust that, but memory bites at me. I knelt and peeked under Mia's bed. Nothing but dust bunnies. Until I saw her doll. Lying face down, arms splayed. Under it, I grabbed it, and its head cracked. Little red trickles. Not paint. Maybe real? I snapped it off. I dropped it. It rattled like teeth. And there was blood, still wet. I know now I should have ran, but I didn't. I looked at the doll's cracked head, empty inside. I held it, and from behind the thin wall, there was tapping. Slow, deliberate. 1, 2, 3, then a long pause. I looked at Mia. She stared right at the wall. She whispered, "It wants something." I said, "What?" But she shook her head, and the tapping stopped, replaced by breathing. And not hers. Closer, right on the other side. I gripped her hand. Blood smeared mine too. The breathing grew louder in the narrow hallway outside. I grabbed the only lamp in the room. It wasn't plugged in. I yanked the cord. No extension. I looked around for something, anything. I grabbed the chair, smashed the wall panel next to the door. Behind it, nothing but wiring and empty dark space, like a cavity. I tore at it, hearing that dry crunch. Startled, something scuttled inside. Not a rat, or maybe, but dogs don't scuttle like that. Was that a whisper, or the wiring snapping? All I knew was Mia started crying. Loud, terrified. I wrapped her in my arms and ran to the door. Pulled it. It wouldn't budge. I swore it locked itself. I shoved again. Then from the inside panel I destroyed. A hand, or I think so, pushed out. Pale, bone slick. It pressed through and curled on the floor beside me. I stared. I screamed. Maybe not a scream, more a choked crack in my throat. The hand pulled itself in, vanished. I pushed the door again, busted it open. We scrambled out into the hallway, in our socks, hair wild. I looked down the corridor. No one. The air buzzing with fluorescent hum and that metal tang. I scooped up the broken doll head, dirty jeans, Mia's thin body shaking. We ran out into the parking lot. I heard the wall behind us crack, settle, as though exhaling. The motel door slammed behind us, hard enough it made me wince. The cops showed up. Room was normal. No crime scene, no blood smears, maybe just paint, some said. The clerk said I probably spilled coffee. The doll head, I flushed it, but I swear I woke up once and saw its hollow eyes on my desk at home. No idea how it got there. I tossed it. I didn't want to look at it again. I kept thinking, was it a poltergeist or something real human who died there? Does it still reach? I can't shake the sound of tapping or that breathing when the wall was silent. I can't not hear it. I don't know if I'm remembering it right, but I can't go back. I can't stop running from that motel room, from that half-seen hand that wasn't there, but was. Story 3. My name's Darren. I guess it's better I say that first. No fanfare, no deep breath, just that. I babysat at my cousin's warehouse turned living space on the edge of a dying mill town. It wasn't fancy, just pallet walls and half-lit bulbs that flickered like they had secrets. Jessie, her name was Jessie too, funny, was 6, small, quiet, coloring on the concrete floor. Me, I perched on a stepladder they'd left behind, scrolling through silly videos, trying to not think about rent or that crunching sound outside. Something about the walls, though. The warehouse meant exposed beams and wires, but every now and then a board would creak, not with cold or wind, but like someone shifting in a tight coffin. I caught it and thought, just the floor. But it wasn't the floor. I got down, knelt by Jessie. She was sketching stick figures. One had X's for eyes. I asked what it was. She whispered, "That's my friend." I glanced over. 2 stick figures. One smiling, the other dead. I asked who it was, and she looked right through me. "You'll see him," she said. She didn't move the pencil. I felt a drop of sweat, though it was freezing in there. I told her to show me where she met him. She tapped the wall. Just tapped. Tap, tap. It resonated like something hollow. I frowned and put my ear to it. Nothing. Then scratching. Light, like fingernails dragging against wood. I jerked back, felt stupid, but also scared, stupid. I stood up, telling myself I was being an idiot. There's no monsters in warehouses, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong. That thought alone made the blood in my veins jitter. I told myself to calm, went to check the breaker box. Maybe the power hum was messing with me. But even the breaker box breathed, low hum. The wires buzzed like they had energy from something else. Jessie asked, "Do you remember that story about the guy who trapped rabbits behind the walls?" I blinked. Where did that come from? I thought of some folklore. My cousin maybe told her. I shrugged. She frowned and said, "He's here." My throat went dry. I went to the back hall, more boards leaning against the wall. I shoved one, hidden gap, thin, maybe 6 inches wide. I peeked inside. I swear I saw someone pressed there, not fully, a shape, bone white, shaking. The air smelled of iron, and I thought I heard someone sobbing, but I'm not sure. I stumbled back, bumped the stepladder. It knocked against a pallet. Loud crash. Jessie screamed and I whirled. Her crayons were scattered, and one figure, her dead friend, was now drawn with red between its legs. Blood or red wax? Too deep to tell. I said, "We're leaving." I grabbed her hand and ran for the door, but it rattled. Locked. Locked? I yanked and the knob turned, but didn't pull. I kicked hard. Wood cracked. On the floor, a smudge of dark red, thin, forming a footprint leading away. I followed it, thinking maybe a spill, but it led behind stacked boxes where the pallet wall met the floor. I knelt, traced it. The color dried, crusty, not ours. The footprint, too big for me, too elongated. I heard whispering behind me, but not from Jessie. From somewhere under the pallets, I told myself it was the wind, even though the place was sealed. No windows. I crawled under. Careful. Jessie's hand tight in mine. It was narrow. Smelled like mold and decay. I saw a pocket, folded clothes and dried blood on them. A kid's small shoes. I pulled them out. They were crusted. I yelled, "Grab Jessie." They scrambled out. I backed up, and I swear, one of the pallet boards shifted, like someone slid behind it. We ran atop broken wood right to the front door. I forced it open. Cold air slammed in, like a mouth exhaling. We spilled outside. I hugged her, knees quaking. Her crayons dropped, one broken red stick, bleeding onto the concrete. I called the cops. When they came, they looked. The warehouse, empty. No locked doors. The pallet wall, no gaps, no dried blood, no shoes. They said maybe I hallucinated. They dusted me for prints. Found none besides mine and Jesse's. Think I was sleep deprived? They said brown paint from a spill. I didn't argue. I kept replaying nights after, waking, thinking I hear slivers of crying. I checked the warehouse the next day. It was boarded shut, condemned. The new rental listing already lists it. No mention of ghost or murder. If you're curious, ask them. But I don't want to know. I keep thinking, was it a kid that died there years ago, trapped in a wall? Or my own mind snapping? The crayons? The blood smear? I'm not sure. And Jessie, she stopped drawing people. Said herself, my friend doesn't like red. I didn't correct her because maybe she's right. I know it sounds absurd. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But when I close my eyes, I see a face pressed between boards and hear soft sighing. And I'll keep hearing it, I think, for a long time.